Welcome to Local SEO in 10. This is your go-to podcast for answers about how you can grow your local business online easily and quickly. Brought to you by local SEO experts Magnified Media in Walnut Creek, California. In each 10-minute episode, our digital marketing expert Adam Duran answers your questions on how you can get more leads for your business fast. Remember, if you're not taking care of this part of your business right now, you can bet your competitors are. And now, here's our host with the questions, Jamie Duran, and our expert with the answers, Adam Duran.
Woohoo! All right, I'm so excited about this topic this week.
Great. Good to hear, Jamie.
All right, so would you like to tell everyone the topic I asked you early about?
Sure. Welcome to everyone to another episode of Local SEO in 10. We're going to talk about today how you know whether to outsource your online marketing or whether to hire an in-house person. So I know there are some medium or larger size companies that this is basically as your company grows, something you're going to have to answer. You know, is it more important or more efficient, a better use of your money to hire someone in-house to do the marketing, or is it better just to outsource? What do you think, Jamie?
Outsource. All right, everybody. We'll talk to you next week.
Well, obviously a little biased on our end, but there's a bunch of reasons why, for most companies, outsourcing their marketing makes sense. So there's obviously the cost savings. Generally, in the Bay Area, for example, if you're going to hire a marketing manager for your company, you're going to be paying them upwards of $100,000 to $150,000 a year. And that's for somebody who's skilled. We're not talking about an intern, or just because they're 22 and know how to use Snapchat, they're suddenly know what they're doing. So a skilled person, somebody who knows SEO, who knows how to make a web page, how to post and when to post, create content for social media, stuff like that. That person is highly sought after. And the reason they're highly sought after is because the return on that investment is so large. However, an agency is not going to cost you $100,000 to $150,000 a year. So that is one of the major benefits of outsourcing.
Well, and you said marketing manager, so that would imply that they're managing people as well.
Yeah, you'd think so, but a lot of times they title that position marketing manager, and it just means a full-time person who's creating content for that company.
So they might be managing the 22-year-old Snapchat intern.
They might be, or depending on that 22-year-old Snapchat person, to be able to actually create content.
Right.
And that's a big risk to take, but we do see that. And I've definitely been called in to help larger companies, and we'll talk to their marketing manager who's been there for years and years and years. And unfortunately, when you've been in a position for years and years and years at that company, your hunger to learn new techniques, to stay on top of basically the ever-changing landscape of what we do, it's a lot to do, and you can become complacent in that job. And when that happens, that doesn't help the company, right? So that's where somebody like us, you outsource your marketing to them. They're definitely much more motivated to produce and to give a return to that company. Why do you think that is, Jamie?
Because they want to be brought back.
That's right. Because we don't want to be fired. It's way easier to fire an outsourced vendor, basically, than it is to fire an in-house person. So once you hire them, the way to let them go, that road is a lot longer than an email.
And in California, ooh boy, it's not easy to fire people.
Definitely not. And so, however, if that agency isn't doing well, or you're not meshing with them, or don't like their products, then you can move on. And it really is that simple. The interviewing process for an agency shouldn't take more than a few weeks. And if you interview a couple or 3 or 4, do the research, check their online reviews. Do some research. Just don't call the first one that you see, or your friend Bob recommended. Do some research. Maybe find a podcast if they're producing something like that. Go to their website, look at the content they're creating, see some case studies, stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's a good point.
So another reason you probably want to consider an outsourced agency is because you don't have to worry about vacations. So that's a big thing. An employee leaves for a vacation, that can impact their production, obviously. For an agency, that's something we budget for, right? So I have 7 people now who, if they're taking a vacation, we can cover for them. If an individual team member can do that.
Really? Are you ready for a curveball question?
Sure, bring it on.
All right. So with one of the big arguments for having an in-house person is that when they're in-house, you really have control over the passwords. Sometimes I've heard horror stories with agencies where they get fired and they take all the passwords with them and they hold them hostage.
Oh my gosh, that's terrible. Well, I know in our contracts that would open us up to a giant lawsuit. So we don't do that. And actually in-house, what we have super high, basically it's called keeping our password security. So everything strict, and all of our employees have 2-factor authentication. They're all basically firewalled from, if they're let go, it's a click of the button to turn off their access to everything. For us, when you take on an agency for your company, giving the agency the access, like on Facebook or on Google, is really an easy process. And of course, you don't want to give anyone ownership access to your business profiles. But that's we've taken over businesses where that's happened in-house.
Right.
Where the person in-house who set up some account now is the owner of that account and never did what they were supposed to, which is to pass ownership of that account onto an actual owner or senior executive in that company or in that business.
So you'd recommend that either the employee or the outside agency is not the owner of the account?
Oh, never.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a...
Or the
I guess it's a
22-year-old
no-brainer.
Snapchat.
It's a no-brainer for me and for us. But that keeping everything separate is just basic security. And yeah, usually what happens when we take over an account, we create a master password sheet sometimes, and we make sure that the owners are the actual owners. So that way they have the last say. And we're very transparent about that. So we have agency access on our accounts for our clients, but it's always underneath the actual owner.
Great. Good job with that curveball.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah. One other thing, having someone, or having basically, when you outsource, you're hiring a team of people. You're not just hiring one person. And so when you're hiring one person in a creative environment, so, creating content for social media, doing stuff that is creative, when you only rely on one person, our creative juices for that one person could kind of run dry. And that's bad, especially in this ever-changing, this landscape of what we're trying to do is get people's attention. So when you have a team, you can have new team members take a look at different things, give better ideas, change stuff around, and evolve that advertising or that content creation. When you have just one person, they get stuck in a rut, and then your content gets stale, and that's not good for you as a company.
Yeah, I think that's you touched on something really big, which is the complacency, because it's ever, and you said at the beginning, is that there's never a dull moment in the world of Google or Yelp or Facebook or Nextdoor or any of those. So it's
that's why when you're hiring this person, or thinking about which one should we do, hiring somebody paying $150,000 a year or $100,000, that's a lot of money. An agency, 10, 15 grand a year, so a tenth of the cost. That should be a big deciding factor. But the other thing is, when you're hiring that person, once they're hired, are they still keeping up to date on all of the changes? I mean, Google pretty much, consistently updates their algorithm, 3 to 4 weeks. And we as an agency have to stay on top of that, because you're right. We are easy to fire, right? So we have a contract, then our contract rolls month to month, and bam. If we're not on top of those changes, we get a call or an email that says, you're done. However, if you're somebody in-house, that process, like we touched on earlier, is a lot longer.
Yeah.
So that's just the nature of this.
All right. Well, that's some great advice, and maybe it's up for the company to do both. They hire a manager, and then that manager hires the agency, and the manager supervises the agency.
We have definitely, that's for larger companies, we recommend that. We make many managers look awesome, and they feel secure on that because we make them look great.
And they can take vacations.
Yeah, and they can trust that it's getting done right. That's the big thing. So everyone's worried, once you're in that company, you might be worried about your position continuing. If you have someone, a team making you look awesome, then that worry kind of goes away, right? You can show deliverables. You can show that these are the benchmarks that have been met every month. Here's a great looking report. My boss, here you go. I'm out. I'm on vacation now.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's been 11 minutes. So local SEO in 11. But any final thoughts?
Nope. That's it. Thank you all for listening.
All right. Well, thanks again for listening to the podcast. If you can and you feel like sharing this with your networks, we really appreciate it. Just hit the share button, and then make sure to review the podcast as well. And feel free to get back to us with any comments on the Facebook page, Local SEO in 10.
All right, guys. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
That's all for now. Thanks for listening to this episode of Local SEO in 10 with Google local marketing expert Adam Duran. Join us each week for answers to your questions on how to best harness the power of the internet to grow your business. Speaking of questions, got some? Message us through our Facebook page, Local SEO in 10, and we'll be sure to give you your answer on an upcoming episode. This episode of Local SEO in 10 is brought to you by Magnified Media, the leading online marketing agency in Northern California, who invite you to grow your business by magnifying your online visibility and credibility. Visit them on the web at www.magnifiedmedia.com. Magnify your business, magnify your profits.